Welcome to Yatabe Arena. I will talk about this car.
Cecil, why did you decide to make an off-road buggy?
Well, I thought what was out there was interesting and good efforts, but it left plenty of room for improvement from my engineering point of view.
These were things like the Tamiya Rough Rider, I guess, that type of vehicle?
Yes, yeah, they were brilliant models, but they weren't designed in relation to being used competitively.
Tell me about your basic design concepts and what are the main features on the car?
Well, because I wanted four-wheel drive, we had to think of an efficient, low-cost, effective transmission system to get to the from the rear of the car to the front, linking the two axles and having a drive motor, which I put near the back end because we've got to put batteries somewhere and they could go between the rungs of the belt, and they're fairly heavy, so it gave quite a reasonable weight distribution.
Why did you choose belt drive?
Very low cost, surprisingly efficient, as long as you keep dirt out of it, so it carried with it a need to have a scrupulously clean transmission system, but that was perfectly achievable.
Tell us about the differential system on this car.
Well, the ball diff had been extremely successful and was very appropriate to the sizes of model cars. The electric motors run at great speed, and you need to have a lay shaft to reduce the speed, and then a further drive to the axles. So the opportunity there arose to put the differential on the lay shaft, where it carried around about half the torque that it would have to carry if it was on the back axle.
Yeah, so that led to the what's known as the integrator.
Yeah, well, the differential being on the lay shaft then required two separate drives to go to the next reduction to the axle proper, and then a belt was necessary to link the front axle to the back axle, and that had to wrap around all these other axles, which worked well because it gave you a space through which you could fit the NiCad batteries.
Okay.
But it meant that you'd got to recombine these separated drives, and since a differential separated the drives, you recombined the drives with notionally an integrator, and those of you with a mathematical bent will understand what that means.
The tyres were also very, very new and different.
Yes, I'd seen some model tyres which were exact scale replicas of full-size tyres, and yet the scale effect, which is inevitable and inescapable, demands that it results in the fact that the ground pressure with a model car is tiny compared to a real car, and in order for the tyres to penetrate into soft earth, it doesn't take much time or thinking to realise they have to be virtually pointed spikes.
Looking at the other features then, what about the crashback system on the front?
Well, I reckoned that the impact that we were going to get in the rough and tumble of model car racing was going to make it necessary to make rather heavyweight components for the independent suspension. So I reckon that if a frontal impact could cause some flexing to happen, which was controlled by elastic bands, it would take the sting out of any frontal impacts. And I have to say, it worked really well. For the suspension to articulate over the range of movement, there's an inevitable plunging action within the drive shaft. So I designed these splined moulded drive shafts, and that also allowed the crash back to happen where the drive shaft disengages by about 10 millimetres or more.
So the car that Masami used to win the Worlds was the second iteration, the CAT XLS. What changed with that?
That was interesting because we had a very skillful young driver working for us when we were developing the car, a chap called Andy Dobson. He went to Pastures New shortly after that, but he was such a good driver and his reactions were so phenomenal. He could handle the twitchy nature of a rather short car. So we went into production with an Andy Dobson special that only Andy Dobson could drive really, really well. And I used to drive, never well, but I used to like driving. And I thought, I'll make a long one. And it was variously christened the geriatric spec. It was about 10 mil longer. And that was made purely for me to look less of an embarrassment on the circuit when Andy was tearing around with the short wheelbase job.
We're here at the world famous Yatabe Arena in Japan, and we're talking to Masami Hirosaka about the Schumacher CAT and his racing career. Masami-san, when did you start RC racing?
I started racing when I was 5 years old.
And when did you get your first Schumacher car?
It was 1986, winter time.
Yes. And which car was that?
It was Schumacher first edition.
Yes.
It was not longer one.
Yes. The short wheelbase.
Short wheelbase version.
Yes. Okay. And then you decided to race at the World Championships in England. So tell me about the preparation for that race.
My father, Masaki, was my mechanic.
Yes.
And I was ready for the World Championship before the race, but I didn't have this car.
Yes.
So I only have shorter car,
Yes.
shorter wheelbase version, and it was green color.
Yes.
And after World Championship practice day,
Yes.
so it was before race day.
Yes.
So I had a dinner with the father,
Yes.
and then I got a small box from my friend.
Yes.
So I opened, covered this.
Yes.
So we were very, very surprised, and we didn't know nothing. And when I see this car, seems like perfectly. My father says, looks like very, very good. And he checked at night, all screw off,
Yes.
and made again assemble
Yes.
again. So he says these cars are not standard. So because screw and balance,
Yes.
everything perfect. So we decided to use this car,
Yes.
but I have never practiced.
Yes.
So before qualifying number one,
Yes.
I checked the trim and the steering.
Yes.
That's it. So maybe 1 or 2 minutes.
Yes.
And put on the racetrack, qualifying number one, I got TQ.
Fantastic.
So it was the fastest car. So after that, I got a car number one. It means pole position start for final. So 3 finals, I won 2 finals. So I won the race.
So, why was it called the CAT?
Well, we wanted a competition off-road car, and in full-sized engineering and motor engineering, that would be referred to as all-terrain. So we wanted a competition all-terrain car. Hey presto, CAT.